Welcome to California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance, and we are joined by Stephen Llanusa. He is the president of the Claremont Unified School Board, also a teacher himself, a sixth grade teacher in San Bernardino County at a science and technology magnet called Smith Elementary. And it's apropos that he's here to talk about not Common Core, but what's known as the next generation science standards. I have to be honest with you, Stephen, I was not aware of these standards. You know, I've been very focused on Common Core and speaking with our audience about Common Core, but something else is happening in the background. Tell us about it.
Well, just as Common Core is developed to make rigor in language arts and math higher for the students who need it.
Sure.
The next generation science standards are meant to bring Americans' science education on a par with other nations.
It's fair to say we have not been on par with other nations.
We have not.
We have not.
There was the International Math and Science TIMSS report that showed America was falling behind our competitors.
Why?
Well, our competitors, our fellow countries.
Well stated, however you want to put it.
They teach science in a more rigorous way than we've been doing it here in America. We have the 50 states, and they all have different standards.
Right.
The next generation science standards were developed jointly by a majority of the states.
Right. At this stage, I understand a majority of the states have adopted them.
A slight majority. About 28 states have adopted the next generation science standards.
This is not Common Core. It's not connected to Common Core. This is a separate beast.
Right. Common Core came from Washington, and it was developed with input from the states. The next generation science standards came from the states themselves.
And California is one of the adoptees.
California is one of the leading states and was one of the first states to adopt these new standards.
So let's talk about the standards. When I went to school, there was a very clear pattern. We had the biological sciences, we had chemistry, we had physics, maybe physiology. Is that the same path that we're looking at through the new standards?
No, the next generation science standards has a much more integrated curriculum. They still have the three dimensions, but it's not biology, chemistry, physics. It's scientific and engineering practices. Those are all the skills that a scientist would develop when doing a proposal, or that a sixth grader would do in a science fair project.
Right, which your science fair, which is happening right now with your students, I'm sure. And I understand that the titles are different. I mean, it's called life sciences.
Well, yes, that would be the third dimension, the core curriculum. There are life sciences, there are earth and space sciences, and there are physical sciences. And biology, chemistry, and physics run throughout all three of those. There is a new fourth curriculum area called engineering and technology.
And I think that really is the ticket. When we look at how these standards are looking to change the face of education when we look at science.
Right, because science isn't just discovering how things work or why things work. With engineering, we're finding out what works best. And that's an important question to answer as well as the other ones.
I think it's fair to say that there are several studies which suggest that for whatever reason, when you educate girls in the sciences, some of them, one could say a majority of them, for whatever reason are not getting the same level of education or are not receiving the same level of success as their male counterparts. Is that fair?
I wouldn't say that it's fair for the next generation science standards.
Well, that's the point. That's where I'm going. Is how, we don't know why, or maybe you know why, but under the prior regime, boys were excelling in science vis-a-vis their girl counterparts. How is this trying to level that playing field?
I think by bringing engineering concepts into the lower grades, in the elementary school level, where girls are very comfortable succeeding academically, they're taking on engineering challenges so that when they do get to middle school and high school, they'll be better able to perform with the boys when it comes to engineering.
But it seems to me that a lot of the challenge facing girls who are in a co-ed atmosphere today is that it's not cool for a girl to be a scientist or a science nerd. It's not cool for a girl to be in the robotics class. Is that part of the challenge educators face?
Well, I can't speak for all girls.
Of course, no, I'm making generalizations.
Right, but the girls that I know who do succeed well in the robotic competitions or who do succeed well in science and engineering, what they bring is a collaborative, cooperative approach, which is something that America's science and engineering education needs. It's what the other countries have already. They have much more collaborative working together.
And let me ask you about the other countries. When the TIMSS report came out, were there distinctions demonstrated between males and females?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
I only know in terms of how our country ranked compared to other countries.
But
I'm
do you
sure
know-
there were gender differences in that study, but that was not an
Yeah,
aspect I'm
but
familiar with.
I'm wondering if that's something that's unique to America, those gender distinctions as it relates to the sciences. We don't know. We'll try to find out if we can.
I'll come back next
Yeah,
time and let you
and
know.
I would like for you to come back. So tell us, what is the new generation science centers doing on this issue specifically? You've hinted at it, but give us a bigger sense.
Well, the second dimension, which I didn't mention yet,
Please.
talks about cross-current concepts. So the 4 areas, the science and technology, earth science, they all 4 of those aspects, life science, physical science, they all have structure and function in common. They all have cause and effect in common. So we're taking those concepts that cut across all scientific and engineering disciplines, and starting at the elementary school level, are teaching boys and girls how to relate those cross-curriculum concepts to all aspects of science and engineering.
It's undeniable that, especially in California, we're going through a revolution in our educational system. We have Common Core adoption, and then we have the local control funding formula, the local control accountability plans, and now we have the next generation science standards. You're a teacher. How are teachers consuming all of this and adopting it for the kids today?
Well, the next generation science standards are doing what other businesses call a soft opening.
Okay, right. Well stated.
Because Common Core, that's where the attention is focused right now. Because that's what's going to be tested first. Language arts and math will be tested for Common Core.
Why, if I can interrupt,
Sure.
why wasn't the new generation science centers included in Common Core?
Common Core is addressing reading and language arts and math, because those were seen as keystone curriculum, that if you excel at those, then you'll do well in the other areas of the curriculum.
Interesting.
So I believe that's why language arts and math are the priority. Now, science is still tested because of No Child Left Behind at the 5th grade, 7th grade, and 10th grade levels.
And the ACT also looks at science.
Right,
And a lot of kids are starting to move towards the ACT.
So it's not that science testing has been stopped, but it's been tested differently than the Common Core assessments. Common Core assessments are new, the curriculum is new, everyone is looking at how do we do well on those new assessments.
The way I describe Common Core, if someone asks me, I say, as I understand it, under the prior system, a lot of subjects were taught, but there wasn't a lot of depth. With Common Core, fewer subjects are taught, but more depth. Are the science standards similar in their philosophy?
They are, because just as Common Core allows depth by integrating concepts, so does the new next generation science standards. By making sure that life sciences, when possible, is interconnected with chemistry, biology, and physics, the integration of those 3 are taught at a deeper level. They're not arbitrarily split.
So are all school districts part of this soft open in California?
Yes, I would say so. The fact that you haven't heard a lot about it, I
Right.
think, indicates that it's on the back burner.
But when can we expect that these standards will get a lot of heat? You know, when is the box office going to heat up for these standards?
Well, I think it'll be driven by assessment.
I see.
Just as Common Core is driven by the new assessment,
Right.
when there's an assessment developed for the next generation science standards, I think then you'll see a lot of districts and administrators paying more attention to it.
His name is Stephen Llanusa. He is the president of the Claremont Unified School District. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's California Edition.